Welcome to Everyday Speed Bumps.
We are Valentina
and Andrea, and together we will dive in the unexpected pauses of our life journey.
So if you're navigating the twists and turns of life, join us as we share life stories and lessons from our everyday speed bumps.
But don't worry, there is always another speed bump ahead. But together we got this.
This is our 6th episode. And if you've ever felt like you're not good enough at something or you don't deserve something, even though you accomplished it and you got a reward or you got a recognition, then this episode might be for you. And I'm sure you've heard about this concept before. It's imposter syndrome because it's basically everywhere. But few times we stop and question whether we might be having imposter syndrome and how it might be stopping us from, recognizing the effort that we've put into something or, just recognize what we deserve.
Even applaud yourself. Being able to say, hey, I really deserve it. Is this part of where you actually are I don't know if I really deserve it or if it's someone else's merit instead of our own merit.
Yeah. And, at least for me, it's something that I see on social media. A lot of people talk about it, but I never really realized I was suffering from imposter syndrome. At least I didn't know that was the name for the situation that I was having. So here we're just going to discuss, a few of our experiences, how to identify it, how imposter syndrome can, become a cycle that repeats over and over, and how to stop it and use it in your favor.
Yeah, with imposter syndrome, normally in my case, I've heard many times, and it's like a topic that is all around social media, friends talk about it, but you are like, okay, what is actually imposter syndrome? Have I ever suffered of imposter syndrome, or it's just like a normal concept that is all around, but I don't know if I've been falling into it.
Yeah.
And then it happened to us that we started to discuss about the episode, etc. And immediately so many examples of our daily life has got hey, we have been involved in this vicious cycle that we call imposter syndrome, or that is actually known widely known as imposter syndrome.
So ways to identify that you might be struggling with it is if you have, let's say, a big presentation or a big event or something, like a milestone that you're preparing for. And you put extra effort, and even though you put extra effort, you don't feel like it's enough. And you get kind of frustrated because you feel like you're working a lot harder than the others. Just because you're scared that if you don't put extra effort, you're not going to deliver. And it could be with the biggest things, but also with, the dumbest or simplest tasks. So for instance, at work, we do monthly internal meetings, and it was my time to present, my turn to present on a specific meeting. And I remember it was a simple slide, just a 5-minute presentation, one slide, nothing new, things that I talk about and I work on a daily basis. But I literally put time on my calendar to prepare my slide. And then on that morning, I was practicing over and over and over and over. I delivered it, but because I did practice a lot. And that made me feel like if I hadn't practiced, maybe I wouldn't have been able to deliver it. But what if I was able to do it?
But you know what happened here? Maybe obviously that insecurity, because let's say it's an insecurity of you think I'm not able to do it, I'm not able to achieve it, I'm not able to accomplish or to deliver the presentation or whatever it's on your plate. Maybe sometimes it comes because someone else had told you before, maybe in another job, in another way, hey, you didn't do it as correct, or hey, you actually need more preparation, or even your boss in that before it says to everyone, hey, prepare a lot this presentation so you are able to deliver. And then maybe the boss just tell it as a general comment, not that actually you need that a lot of preparation. But in your head, that became actually recorded on your head saying, hey, I actually need to prepare because if I don't prepare, I will not deliver.
Or even out of comparing myself with others. Because obviously in my team, there are great speakers, great presenters.
Yeah.
I work in comms, so, obviously a lot of talented people that I look up to and that I admire. And in many ways, copy things
Yeah.
from them.
That's normal. You copy good things
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
everyone. Mhm.
And, maybe I just compare myself with these outstanding speakers and I push myself to get to that level without even wondering, am I already at that level? Potentially, am I already that good?
Yeah, because sometimes when even this happens a lot, like with coworkers, you see them in my case, doing slides or working on Excel, and they do it amazingly. And I know I am also able to do it in a
Yeah.
really good way, in my own way, because everyone has their own
Yep.
way of working. And you're like, oh my God, that person knows how to do it. I don't know how to do it. And then you actually put a lot of like pressure on yourself, or you even say I'm not able to do it the same. Maybe you're able to do it better, but in your world, because you see the rest of them and you don't see how capable you are, then you're actually like pushing and pushing and pushing really bad on yourself and not able to recognize everything that you're able to do.
And then it becomes a cycle because you're not trusting yourself or not believing that you're capable or worthy of. So you push harder trying to prove a point, right? So you work extra time, practice extra time. I don't know, you're tough on yourself.
All the
And
time.
it leads to like being burnt out. But then you actually deliver it. Most likely you'll have a good outcome. But then you're not going to be satisfied with that outcome because you're not good enough. And that's what you keep telling yourself over and over and over and over again. So because you're so hard on yourself, the next time you do it, you're going to want to prepare twice as much. And then you're going to deliver with great results that are not enough. And then it goes again
Because-
over and over and over.
Because there's always this belief you can always do better. And when someone says you can always do better, then it's like, okay, yeah, I do it, and I can applaud you as a third person that is here with you and tell you, hey, Vale, you did an amazing presentation. It was really good. But maybe in your head, oh, yeah, thank you, but I know I can do better.
Yeah. The cycle of imposter syndrome is constantly leading you to negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative emotions that ultimately would lead you to a negative outcome.
Exactly.
Or at least that's what you're preparing for. And I think the key to overcome this is to realize that when someone has something to add or to suggest or any sort of feedback, it's not necessarily negative. You should take it as something positive and constructive. This person believes in me so much, or believes in my potential, or believes that I can do it even better, that they take the time to give me some feedback. Because if they thought you were bad at it, that you have zero talent, they would just not take the time. They would just not bother, wasting time on giving you some feedback, if that makes sense.
Exactly. It even happened to us when we were going to first launch the podcast. At first, we were like saying like, oh, that feeling of like, will people listen to us? That what we have always talked before. Do we deserve to have it? That feeling of, do we deserve to have a space? Do we deserve to have a podcast? And we actually did like a internal launch with our closest friends, and we invited them to give us feedback, and we received such good and organized feedback from our friends, like, hey girls, you did it amazing on this part, you can do better on the other one. And then after all, that feeling of us was like as a reassurance, like, hey, we can actually do it. It was a good one. It was a first episode, that the one that they listened together with us, giving us the feedback, and which is like it was our introductory episode. If you haven't listened, go back and listen it. But it shows that we can do it, and that space that you even mentioned of people wanting to giving you that feedback, we took it in a really good way.
We took it in a really good way, but a lot of the feedback on the first episode, on that day
Yes.
before we launched and everything, it was tough.
Yes, it was heavy.
It was difficult to hear because obviously there were so many things that we didn't consider, or even on the structure, on the topics, and so many things that for a moment it was like, wait, this episode that you're talking about is ready to go. I mean, we didn't even edit it afterwards.
No.
So, we had two options at that time. Either we decided, we're not ready for it, it's a total fail.
And we stay on that negative
And we stay on that negative thought. And we also keep asking for more and more and more feedback until everyone gets together and just tells us excited about the podcast, but also giving us recommendations, suggestions, consider this, listen to this podcast, listen to this other podcast, look at what this person is doing, apply this, try this, that it can get overwhelming. And I'm like, okay, wait, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love the feedback.
Yes.
It shows interest. But I've had to learn to look at it in a positive way.
Yeah.
Or else it just,
yeah,
I get overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, yeah. We get overwhelmed of just saying we are not doing it correctly. We're doing it bad way. People are just complaining, blah. But no, people are happy to listen to us, that they want us to get better at it. And that happens even in our workplace, etc. When your boss even sits down to you and tell you, hey, you did an amazing presentation. Next time, consider this. Talk slow, etc.
And I think everyone's smart enough to recognize where they're standing. At work, you know what's your potential and all the growth space that you have ahead of you. In personal relationships, you know what are your capacities and your virtues, but you also know that in some areas you still can improve. In every area of life. So, in a way, it's acknowledging where you're standing, recognizing the growth ahead, and even understanding that no constructive feedback is something that you should be scared of.
Yeah.
Because it means either that you already reached the top, and if that's the situation and you aren't able to see it, then that's unfortunate. But if you can't take constructive feedback and you do recognize that there's a lot of growth potential ahead of you, then what's the next step?
Exactly.
How are you even gonna acknowledge what you need to do, the tools that you need,
Yeah. But here it comes, like, for example, if you get a constructive feedback, even in the way the person is saying it to you, okay, it's a constructive feedback, you take it in a positive way. But what happened when the feedback that you received is not in this constructive way of saying?
You know that my brother-in-law always says that if someone tells you something rude, bad, with bad intentions, aggressive, whatever, and you get angry or you let it affect you, it's your fault, not theirs.
That's a good one.
Because he said, in life, you're going to find a lot of people that aren't going to be nice to you, that won't use the words that you expect them to use, that won't believe in you, because there's, there's people who really want us to grow, but there's also people that want us to quit and let go of whatever we're working towards. So understanding that it's not on them. It's on you to say, I'm not going to let this get to me. I'm not going to let this sabotage my thoughts and my plans. And I'm just going to bounce that back. Not like I'm going to say it back, but I'm just going to say,
I don't want it.
Whatever you're saying refers to yourself, not to me.
Yeah, let's put a wall.
Yeah.
That's the other part. Because sometimes when people tell you something, when they say it mainly in a negative, hard connotation, sometimes they are talking to themselves. They are showing their insecurities, etc., or jealousy. But it's showing more of the person that is talking to you than even of your performance. But when those negative comments, when you're that, let's say, how can I tell that? When that insecurity that you have on your head is really big, and you haven't put a stop to it, and you are not able to not receive it to you, then it's when it kind of makes that feeling of imposter syndrome harder.
Yeah, because that's the thing. At first, it can feel like it comes from, external, from other people, from feedback, from opinions. But there's a point where you build a pattern and it starts coming from yourself, from your own thoughts, from your own belief that you're not worthy of, capable of, or all these things that we'd said before. And that's when it really gets dangerous. Because so many people have let go of their goals, let go of things that they would have accomplished amazing things, just because they don't believe in themselves. And a lot of other people just don't enjoy the journey anymore. Because if you're doing something that at first you did it because you thought you were good at it, you were enjoying it, but then you're putting so much pressure on yourself and you're so negative about your potential that at some point it just loses the purpose.
You know what? Now that you mentioned this, it reminds me even on personal things that have happened to me, even on business that I want to put. Like I have postponed them for a long time, just because I say on the market there are other brands that are maybe better than what I am able to do, or oh they already are well known. I cannot achieve that. It's when those negative feelings like literally start to dominate my head. There are many people around that are actually believing in me. Why I'm not believing in myself? And that's hard. And it's hard to fight with those feelings. It's hard to fight with that mentality. It's hard to fight with with that negative belief that I'm not able to do it. But I have the expectation of my family that I should achieve XYZ because I am the one that went to study to this university, that is now living abroad, that is now doing her own stuff. So they expect a lot from me. And that is how to fight this every day of just saying, do I have my goals, my accomplishments for my family or for myself?
Yeah, and that's what I said before. Is it external, really? Is it from your family? Are they really expecting something from you? Or are you just coming up with the idea that they're expecting something from you and that's why you're so hard on yourself?
Exactly.
Maybe they just want you to be happy.
Exactly.
Here, there, going back, staying, like doing whatever you want to. We can come up with the idea that they expect something when they don't expect something.
Yeah, because in your head you want them like, I want them to be proud of me.
Exactly.
I wanted to be proud of the person that I am becoming. I wanted to be proud. So when you do something that is not right, that is not correct, that is not that you are not on the place that you actually dream of being at now, because you can achieve that. Maybe you are in the path to achieve it. It's like, I am failing to my family. And that's not a nice feeling. And it has happened to me many times. Like I always talk this to with my mom, and she says like, I'm proud of you. Overall, I'm proud of you, of everything, because you're intelligent, you're smart, you are doing things that you love. Yeah, and she's proud of me. But if my head is like, I want her to be more proud, I need to do this, I want her to provide on this, I want to do the other part. And it's a lot of pressure that sometimes I go at night, and then immediately I start to have like anxiety, etc., because I just want to be the best person, or I want to show her in my head that I can do it.
Yeah. And I have a question for everyone listening, and now I'm going to ask Thea, just because she's here with me. Mm-hmm. What do you think is more difficult to process? Failing others or failing yourself?
You know what? Failing myself is like an internal, because sometimes I don't share it. But if I fail others, it's really hard for me. Like, for example, if I wanted to do the podcast by myself, I was okay, I did it, okay. If not, it was internally. But I'm doing it with you. I don't want to fail you, because I have your support. Let's say here in this example where we are doing this together. So if I'm not doing it right, yes, I'm failing myself. But what if I'm also failing another person that I appreciate, that I love around? And that for me is a feeling that it gives me a lot of stress and anxiety of not being able to perform my best.
And now my second question. Who is determining those expectations?
Myself.
Yourself.
Myself. And that's a hard thing that you need to fight on. Is because I am putting that. You are not telling me you need to perform in this way or in the other way. Let's say I'm talking here because you are here with me.
Yeah.
But I create these scenarios on my head that I am like, maybe I'm not being the best person. Maybe I'm not performing in the best way. Maybe she expects more from me. And we haven't had that conversation. You told me you're doing it amazingly, but in my head, it's like, I can do better.
And the fear of what's lacking or what can go wrong. what if I don't perform well? What if I don't, accomplish all these things that I think my family is expecting from me? What if I don't deliver something for a client on time? What if I, instead of changing the narrative to, I will, I will perform well. I will do whatever I think makes them proud. Even though I don't read minds. I really don't know in the end what makes other people proud or not. The only thing in my control is making myself proud. And by accident, making the others who
proud.
love me proud. Yeah. And I guess my only worry when we fall in that cycle, that becomes kind of addictive or natural, is that as time goes by, you keep accomplishing things, but you don't
You
recognize
don't
them.
celebrate them.
You
Because
don't,
you're
you don't even see them. So you get to a point where, let's say you age, you're older, whatever, and you're just there sitting down saying or thinking, I haven't done anything with my life. And that's my fear. I don't ever want to reach, a stage in life where I look back and I don't see anything.
Yeah. And even like you need to recognize even the things, for example, you want to do something, is do it for yourself. Doesn't matter if people doesn't whatever, do it for yourself. But you need to fight for that insecurity of like you need to push your own self and say I'm doing it because you need to make yourself proud, and that's what you were telling me.
Yeah.
It's literally you need to make yourself proud so you are able, when you go back when you are older, at let's say when you are 70 years old, you sit down and you are like, oh my god, I'm proud because I did it, despite all the fears that were like dominating me at that moment.
Yeah. I know a mother that she works, like she has a full-time job. And when her kids were younger, they had, the classic parties, events, shows, all sorts of things. And she couldn't attend, obviously, because she had,
full-time
other
job.
priorities with work. She was very tough on herself, feeling guilty, feeling like she wasn't there for her kids, that she wasn't a good mother, that she could have done more, that her kids were going to eventually resent her. But she really loved her job and she was really good at it. She still works. And now that her kids are, I think her daughter is like 22, 21. She looks at her mother and she's like, I want to be like my mom when I grow up. Because I admire her so much. Because she has done so much for us. And that's how the narrative changes when you do things for yourself.
Exactly,
Because maybe you're not at every show, every party, every single thing. But you're there in different ways. And when you're there for yourself, people that love you just appreciate it. They see it.
Yeah, doesn't matter if you're not all the time present, but you are present in other ways. Maybe she couldn't go to every event, but she was messaging them. She was present at night. Maybe her way of being with her kids was just let's have breakfast together every morning, and that's the precious moment.
Yeah.
And she was able to balance her mom version and her professional version, because you can have both and be successful at both. And she, as are telling us, she's successful at both.
Yeah. And just trusting that whatever you're doing, if it's what you truly want to do and you're giving it your best, eventually that's going to bring results. And in this case, it brought her kids the biggest lesson. And it's to, in the end, kids go away, they do their lives. If you live fully for others, what comes next? What would have been the case if she hadn't continued her career path that she really loved, it, that really gives her a purpose, and then her kids would go to uni or whatever, and she would be there alone.
You know what? My mom, she gave her, she was a full-time mom, and she did everything for us, for my sister and myself. And now I talk to her. I live in London. My sister lives in another city in Colombia. So she's by herself. She's divorced, so she's literally by herself. She has her friends, etc., but like she's by herself. And I asked her like, do you regret not working? And she's like, I regret maybe not prioritizing myself all the time, because I prioritize you both in everything. she is the type of mom that prefer not sweet to give us the food, let's say. And she regrets a bit on that, and she's open about it. And but she says, I did a really good job with you both girls, but I should have think more about my own personal path, my own personal growth in some occasions.
And I bet that now, as a daughter, when you see areas where your mom is really enjoying whatever she's doing, it could be at a party with friends, or it could be, cooking something at home, like the simplest things. But when you see your mother doing something that really gives her purpose, you feel a lot more proud than anything else in the world.
Yeah, but you know what? Also, that feeling, Vale, is the one that of her, for example, giving her life for us, let's say, in many ways, it fits me up my internal imposter syndrome.
Because it puts a lot of pressure on
puts
you.
a lot
It's
of
like,
pressure on me.
if she sacrificed
Like
all of this for nothing,
Exactly.
shame on me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And let's say I need to play with it, and I need to be conscious about it. I need to bring it to consciousness and just say, okay, yeah, she did it because that was her own decision, but I need to focus on myself and do things that I like.
And be grateful.
Exactly.
Rather than, again, the negative, perspective. Just be grateful. Trust that you're doing the right thing. And she'll see that.
Yeah. What happened, for example, to you? Have you ever think like, I don't know, when you are here and you go on a trip or you do something that maybe your family are not able to do, does that imposter syndrome like dominates you? It comes to your head?
Not at all. Because I have, it's very clear, at least in my situation, that I moved here with all the freedom, and it was a personal decision.
Yeah.
I wasn't forced.
Yeah.
And they could have left if they wanted. I'm
right.
very okay with the fact that I chose this path of life. They chose that one. Both different, equally okay, but not at all. Do you?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. But it's not that I left because of a pressure. I left because it's my own decision, and my family is the happiest because I live here. But sometimes, like, I don't know, I do a trip and I think about them like, oh, but they are not enjoying it here like me. Or they are in another way but yes, here we are here. It's easier to travel, to do many other things. But sometimes that feeling dominates me. And I need to fight with that feeling a lot.
Yeah.
But it's internally because my mom never tells me. My mom is like,
yeah, she's
amazing, enjoy, have the best time. You need to tell me all about it, blah, blah. But it's an internal feeling. And
Yeah.
I tell you, I fight a lot with this imposter syndrome all the time.
Yeah. And abundance. That's the
Abundance.
mindset. That's the mindset. So I would say, like, if you're struggling, with kind of guilt of beautiful things happening in your life or opportunities that are just coming your way, remind yourself every day. And Thea, you've said that before, not on this recording, but like in previous conversations we've had, how important it is to just stand in front of yourself in the mirror and say, you are worthy of, you deserve, good things are coming your way. And
Affirmations.
little by little, you start changing the patterns of the way your brain naturally works.
That's why.
And then you're going to train it to respond, with acceptance, with gratitude, and more things are going to come your way. And you're going to forget and completely cancel the thought that someone that you care about is struggling because of the good things that happen to you, is feeling jealous, guilty, insecure, all these horrible emotions that come from nowhere but your own mind. Because you're building those thoughts.
You know what I do? I write post-it. Sometimes I put it on my mirror, in my vanity, in my room, or I have it on my notes. I always have like in my phone, like the wallpaper, always like phrases like I deserve it. And in my daily meditation, I always put like I deserve this, but always in a positive way. I deserve abundance, I deserve many things, because and it's one of the exercises that one of my therapists she told me to do. Put on the mirror and look at yourself and talk to you and say all the beautiful things. And she told me, do it for 7 days. And it was like an exercise, like one day, talk for 1 minute, the next day, 2 minutes, the next day, 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. And at the end, it was like talking 15 minutes. And she told me, let me know when you get to the 15 minutes if you were able to talk 15 minutes beautiful things about yourself. And I was like, it was a hard exercise. And she told me, if what happened if I told you the negative way, talk 15 minutes, bad things about yourself, would it be easier? And at that moment, like I never did you talk 15 minutes, but at first you say, yeah, because you always find a way to criticize yourself, to put hard on yourself instead of applauding your own self.
Yeah.
And it's hard for you. And even I invite you to everyone to do this exercise.
And I'm going to add an extra step to that exercise. After you mention all the things that you deserve and all the good things about you, and you manifest, all the abundance and positive things to happen, pause and look at them. Like, open your eyes, acknowledge them, because I do think that perception is reality, and that positive things only come to those that can see them. So, a lot of blessings might be happening in your life, a lot of accomplishments, but if you can't identify them, no one's gonna make you see them. And then you're gonna get frustrated, manifesting, reminding yourself that you deserve, telling yourself that something good's gonna happen when it's already happening. But you just aren't ready or prepared to open your eyes and embrace that you're doing it great. And what's equally as bad as not trying to work on, overcoming the imposter syndrome, is to not want to recognize that you have it. Because then things can get complicated. Not only mental health, but also physical health. So a few years ago, when I was applying to different universities, I also applied to scholarships. So I was like, on that time when you're waiting to hear back, whether you got it, you didn't, the expectation, all the intrusive thoughts of, I should have written this on my essay, or why did I mention this? Or I spoke with this other person that told me that she sent an extra letter and I didn't. So you start just, adding baggage and baggage and baggage to that full-on load of imposter syndrome. But you're trying to stay positive because, the letters haven't arrived. There's still a chance. And you just hide everything behind a beautiful smile. And that freaking smile is the most dangerous thing on earth, because sometimes it doesn't allow you to identify what you're really feeling, what you're going through, even to communicate it. So in my case, I was acting as if everything was great, but in my subconscious, I was really struggling. To the point where I ended up hospitalized for 7 days because I had an intestinal hemorrhagic ulcer. And when the doctor looked at me, he said, what worries me is not the ulcer. We're going to fix that. What worries me is that you're sitting here with an intestinal hemorrhagic ulcer. That's basically your stomach is bleeding because it has like a blister, and you're smiling, acting as if nothing was happening. He even asked me, like, are you going through stressful times? Are you, expecting news on something? What's the pressure in your life right now? And I was like, no, nothing. Everything's great. I'm just waiting for them to send me an acceptance letter. I'm waiting to hear on the scholarships. I'm waiting to flowers and butterflies. And he said, that's my worry.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to fix.
Because you're not doing things to calm yourself. But, oh my God, like an intestinal hemorrhagic ulcer.
Yeah.
Like
7 days
really
in the
heavy.
hospital.
7 days in the hospital. Like
until the bleeding stopped.
Like, literally, you took your stress to the next level.
Yeah.
And stress can literally shows like Valen in an intestinal hemorrhagic ulcer, which is a really, it can get like, it's really dangerous
Yeah.
if it's not treated correctly. But also stress is shown in when your hair falls, nails, even
When you bite your
when you
nails,
bite
I'm
your nail.
29 years old and I bite my nails. I can't believe I'm showing this. Don't zoom in. But I do. And those are, ways to see that even though you think you have all your things
No.
figured out, you don't.
My stress, in how can it shows a lot, the thing that with
When
my
your eye
eyes,
ticks.
my eye randomly start to tick and start to close, and
Yeah.
it's quite heavy. Lately, it hasn't happened to me.
No, it's not. After, being there in the hospital, they only treated the bleeding. Obviously,
Yeah.
the
Your
doctor
head,
was
yeah.
no therapist to treat what the root and the real cause of the situation was. I went home and then I feel like I just decided to let go and trust the process. Like, I acknowledged that nothing else was in my control. If I didn't get accepted, I'd apply the year after. If I did get accepted, great. And I'm sure at that time I was already thinking of if I do get accepted, then what's gonna be my next worry, because it's a cycle.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
It feeds of its own anxiety. So,
Exactly.
then you sort something and then you're onto the next thing that stresses me out, and then onto the next one, onto the next one, instead of letting go, focusing on the things that you can control, letting go of the things that you can't, and just accepting that whatever happens is what's supposed to happen.
You are in this journey of life, and you are here to do so many good things, but you need to believe this story. If you don't believe it,
You need to believe it, but you also need to trust that whatever is for you is going to be for you, and whatever isn't won't. Or that sometimes to get to whatever you want, it will take more than one shot.
yeah.
Because
Because everyone has a different process of life.
Sometimes you really work hard, but you get a second place. But that doesn't mean that you didn't work hard enough. Sometimes you apply for a job or a master's or university or whatever, and you don't get it. That doesn't mean that you're not good enough. That just means that it wasn't your moment.
Exactly.
Your life was pointing you towards a different direction. Even when you're looking for a flat, sometimes you put the offer. It's not meant to be yours. Another place will come, and life will teach you in its own way why it was supposed to be that way.
I have a belief that I always say, when one door closes, 10 more open. I think that sometimes in your head, you are just looking at that door that closes.
And that's
That
what I
closed.
said.
Exactly.
Beautiful things happen only to those who are willing to see it.
Because if you don't
Yeah.
decide, if you don't put your head on all the good things that might happen when that not that nice moment or nice opportunity or whatever, that when that moment close to you, or say, hey, it's just saying life sometimes plays in a really funny way of just saying you, or not in a funny, in a hard way of just saying you, this is not for you, but be open, because many good things are coming around.
Yeah.
But believing in yourself.
Believe in yourself.
It's also came to my head something that is happening right now. We had planned a photo shoot for the brand for this weekend, and the photo shoot, obviously there were many things not working around with the models. Some things are were not be able to arrive on time from
The
from
dresses, the
Colombia.
actual outfits.
Yeah, some outfits. Were many the play. There were many things around, and yesterday we were talking with my business partner about, hey, maybe he told me maybe we just need to move it, and we were just creating a scenario of the photographer just saying no, I can't, etc. And he told me at the end, he had the one that had the conversation, and he told me, you know what, she was the one that actually proposed to change the date, and it was 100% better. And now we feel amazing. We found even someone that can bring us the thing from Colombia. So it's all working out for best. But in that moment, we doubt of like, what happens if she doesn't do that? We cannot afford a photographer. We cannot do this. We cannot do the other. But we're like, it's just believing. And we said immediately, we literally text both of us like, hey, you know what? Let's just chill. Let's just release that pressure from us, or that pressure of we just need to do the timings now. We just need to launch now. You know what? Things will happen in the best way as they should happen. Life put you speed bumps for you to learn, for you to improve, for you to think again, and to find a way to face it. And it always say to become stronger and better. And that speed bump, sometimes they are in your own head, and that's the imposter syndrome. So it's like, just take the imposter syndrome as a way, in a positive way, and just put it in a way that just say, hey, you know what? Yes, it's there. Let's just take it in favor, because I'm learning from this. I'm going to prove it wrong, because I know that I will achieve so many things thanks to those moments.
Yeah.
And that's a message that we want to give all of you.
Open your eyes. Good things happen. That's my key message today. Good things happen to people who are willing to see the good things. So, look, and Camila is
saying that,
yes. Confirmed, approved. What else? I'm thinking of a story where things really ended up being negative, and I just can't come up with one.
Me neither.
I've seen unexpected, like I can think of unexpected twists. Not as great as I would have wanted, but never the end of.
No, you know what? Now that you say that, even in the hardest things, even in the hardest moments of my life, of my personal life, etc., I think if those moments didn't happen, I would not be today sitting down here talking about the podcast. I will not be launching my brand. I will not have all these dreams that I have.
Because you would be living other dreams, which would be great as well.
But life have put me many speed bumps. And I always say I'm grateful. I don't always say this, but I need to repeat that more to myself. I'm grateful to those speed bumps, because thanks to those hard moments, I am finding my internal strength of achieving dreams.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting this journey, because you will see this grow and grow and grow in the most positive and beautiful way.
Yeah. And when you see that growth, you're literally giving a slap to that imposter syndrome. So take the time, as a closure to the episode, take the time to identify moments where you thought it was the end of the world, that things couldn't go any worse. And then think of the long term, how it ended up developing, or what it led to.
Yeah.
And question yourself again, was it really that bad? Was the outcome really that bad?
And I bet you are now in these moments in your life that maybe you are still nowadays doubting on yourself and doubting of everything that you can achieve, because that imposter syndrome is dominating you. But hey, slap at it and just say, I can do it. And I bet you will be able to achieve the most beautiful things in your life. But believe in yourself and see around all the beautiful things that are just putting in the best position for you to grow and for you to succeed.
Yeah. And ignore everything else. Silence, opinions, expectations, everything. And just listen to yourself. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you think you're good at? What is it that you love doing? What gives you purpose? When you do those things, you're going to do well. There's no other way. You're just going to do well. Be patient. We only have like 315 followers on Instagram. That's nothing. And look at how much love we put into every episode. So, consistency is the key.
So, yeah.
See you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, Cami.
Chaito.